Hi, my name's Dee and welcome to Sunchild Tarot. Now this isn't a tarot reading video, this is another one of my commentary videos and it's one that I've struggled over. The night before last I saw a video by another reader called Sasha Bonasin. Now you may have noticed I did a commentary video a few days ago about testing your intuition. I didn't name the reader involved there because it was an argument I had with the point she was putting forward, not with her, because she's not the only person who would put that point forward. And I suppose, to be fair, the point of view that Sasha Bonasin has put forward, he's not the only person doing this, but he did a video called Michigan and Brazil, I take my hat off to you, right to be free, stroke Twilight Zone awakening. And he is screaming on the video saying that the lockdown, or as we maybe should call it quarantine, is taking away our freedoms. It's the step of the elites to kill us all. We're being locked in our homes like concentration camps, blah, 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 blah. Now, this guy, as I found out since, he appeared on The Only Way is Essex. He was a housemate in the Big Brother house here. He's London based. I thought he was like Florida or Miami or something. But he's London based. Now, just to make things clear, on the recorded deaths this morning, as I Googled it, as I filmed this, there has been 165,939 deaths confirmed worldwide from the coronavirus. There's been 632,983 recovered people. So that's good about the 632,000. Not so good for the 160 odd thousand that have already died. Now, he was saying that this lockdown is fascism. It is fascism coming home for all of us. He's criticising experts when it is the doctors that are saying that we need to keep our distance from one another. One thing I will agree with him, as uncomfortable as that feels, is the term social distancing is awful. And there is some country around the world, I forget where, I think it might be New Zealand or Sweden or Norway or somewhere, they concentrated on the idea of physical distancing. I'm all for that. That's a really good way of calling it. Social distancing does have the odd connotation. But what Sasha Bonasin was saying is that the demonstrations in Michigan, and apparently there were similar demonstrations in Brazil, he was taking his hat off to them. Now, I want to tackle all of his points. He said this was tyranny. This is not tyranny. This is looking after your neighbour. This is being sensible. This is looking after yourself. Now, the coronavirus is so infectious and a lot of people can have it without suffering that many symptoms, admittedly, and testing is incomplete. So these numbers that I have here, they're not accurate. They are both underestimates, both with the deaths and the recovered numbers, because there aren't testing. Here in Britain, there's just been on the news the last few days that a number of deaths that were coronavirus related weren't recorded as such because the doctors wanted to speed through the paperwork. That's awful. So apparently this is tyranny. This is our freedoms taken away and we are being kept at home like in concentration camps. I'm sorry, my home is not like a concentration camp. I have my fridge. I have my sofa, I have my TV, not that I watch it a lot, but I've got my laptop. I love my laptop. You know, that is not a concentration camp. He was saying that this is what happened with the Nazis. No, it's not. No, there may be things that have occurred in the world recently that are a bit like what happened with the Nazis, not mentioning any names of any countries at all. I'm sure they have very fine people in them. But this is not a concentration camp. This is not what happened with the Nazis. This is, I'm staying home. I've maybe left the house once every 4 days, which I have to do to go to work, to pick up the laptop or drop it back off again. That's as far as it goes for me. And I've made sure that when I leave the house, I do my shopping on the same journey, and then I come home, and then I don't go out for another few days. I'm getting my exercise, I'm getting my food, you know, I'm making the effort. Yeah, it's driving me a bit bonkers, but our grandparents and great-grandparents went through the Blitz. Our great-great-grandparents went through the Spanish flu and the First World War. We can get through this without screaming that it's the 5G towers or it's the elite trying to lock us down or kill us off. I do not want to contract the virus for 2 reasons. 1, I don't want the virus. End of story. 2, I don't want to be carrying the virus and be responsible for the deaths of my elderly neighbours, my friends who are a little more vulnerable health-wise. I do not want their deaths on my conscience. And to say that we need to all go out and mingle and demonstrate against the fascism of this lockdown. Do you know, Mr. Bonasin, what a quarantine is? This is not something that has been planted into the world by the New World Order or the Illuminati or whatever. This is Mother Nature, one way or another, whether it escapes from that lab in Wuhan or whether it started in the wet market on Wuhan or whether it's because we had unearthed it on some previously bit of unexplored China that suddenly the virus has come out. It doesn't matter. It is the world, Mother Nature, that has done this to us. And it's been a valuable lesson because we've seen how much we can reduce pollution. It's been a horrible way to learn it. And my condolences to the 165,939 families, minimum, that have lost people to this virus. So, what else has he said? He said that this is about dividing people. No, it's not. When you see how much people have come together, the volunteer networks that are looking after our elderly and our vulnerable, this is bringing people together. I've spoken to more of my friends in the past 3 weeks than I probably had in the past 3 months. Because we're making the effort to get in touch, because we also have the time to get in touch, because, hey, there's not a lot else to do. This is to protect the hospitals, so that the hospitals are not overwhelmed, so that when someone has got a serious case of COVID, there's a bed for them. There's a ventilator for them. There is the resources to save their life and bring them through the other side, that you're not stacking bodies up in the corridor. Now, I was really shocked to find out that this guy was from London. But this attitude is not unique to my part of the world. As he said himself, Michigan, Brazil, there was somewhere else in America where there was a similar demonstration to the Michigan one, or 2 other places, I think. If only we knew that those people that wanted to go out would be the ones that would suffer for it. But this disease is so very communicable that it's not just them. It's when they have finished demonstrating and they nip to the grocery store to get their food for the next few days, they don't infect everybody there. I am horrified with the vast amounts of stupidity that seem to be going on around the world. They're using a natural disaster, because this is what this is. It is a natural disaster. Whether it's You know, the virus came out of a lab, or and which is supposed to be a research lab, as in investigating animal diseases, not creating. You know, we're not talking about a biotech weaponized disease lab. We're talking about an animal lab. I've lost my point, but on one level, when I see this stuff, I absolutely despair. I really, really do despair. But there's so much going on in the world that is making me have hope. This is something, it's going to change society. There's no doubt about the way it's going to change society. And it's not like, if you follow the astrology, we didn't have a warning that something like this was coming. None of us knew that. Well, I say us, I'm not an astrologer, and as I keep saying, I'm not an astrologer, but nobody knew that this was what was coming, but something equally world-changing was what would going to be coming. And maybe we can work out how we can raise out of this as a better humanity, a more considerate humanity, not a selfish humanity. I was reading on the comments of Bonasin's video, this one woman going, well, I was just thinking about my shopping list, so I crossed the aisle to get something, and this big guy in a mask really threatened me, and all I cared about was my shopping list. Yes, all you cared about was your shopping list, not the fate and health of all the people around you. So please stay home, stay safe. You're not just doing it for yourself, but if you're so selfish that you need that motivation to do it, then do it for yourself. But you're doing it for your elderly relatives, the vulnerable people in your neighbourhood, your elderly neighbours. You're doing it for them. Stay home, stay safe, and my thanks to everybody who has had enough common sense to listen to these guidelines. Cheers.